This will be my first attempt moderating a session on a Zoom platform. So please bear with me if I am a little clumsy with the controls. Hope everybody is able to hear me, right? Vaishali?
We can hear.
Yeah, thank you very much. So let's me give you a very short brief about what this challenge is about. This initiative of the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs was started late last year, and where more than 50 cities participated in an extensive survey of the users and the staff of the transit agencies and even the IPT modes, the auto rickshaws and other people who are providing mobility services in the city. So the survey itself covers, I think, over 2 lakh people altogether in these 50 cities. So it's quite extensive. And through the entire exercise, the cities have come up with problem areas which they intend to work upon and improve. Now, quite obviously, the problem areas range from various things as infrastructure, financing, policy, and technology. So in this challenge, we have decided to focus on the technology challenges. So right now, the cities have come up, we have boxed all their problems into kind of 8 different problem statements. And now in the second stage, we are calling it as a second stage, which got opened about a month ago, where we are inviting, this is the most exciting stage, I should say, where we are inviting all the startups to come join hands with the cities in trying to solve these problems with their solutions, and then possibly get a proof of concept done by the first quarter of next year. So the next 4 months is going to be quite happening in this space. I would love for all of you to participate and follow through this process. And today's webinar is primarily organized to understand the administrative needs and also kind of have a collaborative building of solutions for the public good. Without further delay, I would like to introduce Mr. Suryakiran, the Executive Director of ASRTU. Mr. Suryakiran, now briefly about ASRTU. ASRTU stands for Association of State Road Transport Undertakings. It is a consortium of 62 transit agencies across the country, operating over 150,000 buses. Now, just the scale is kind of daunting to imagine. I think they transport over 7 million passengers every day. I don't know. You're on mute, sir. You're on mute. But
70 million.
So 70 million.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. So, so that's about ASRTU. It has been in existence for 50 long years, or rather 60 long years, and they do quite fantastic work in capacity building of individual transit agencies, learning best practices from each other, and also adapting new technologies and various other things. Now, about Mr. Suryakiran himself, he has been earlier, so he has taken the helm of ASRTU about couple of months ago, 6 months ago. Earlier, before that, he was working for 30 years with TSRTC and the erstwhile Andhra Pradesh Road Transport Corporation as well. So he has worked in various roles and hands-on in the 30 years, and understands the challenges of the operators, understands the needs of the passengers quite well. And he is now there to guide us through the process of this challenge itself, to identify the best startups who are trying to solve these problems. Now, over to you, sir, for a welcome and introduction session. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Prashant. Yeah, nice of you to say a few good words about us, both ASRTU and myself. Thank you so much. Good evening to you all. Many cities are participating in this. Startups have come in and other organizations related. Thanks to ITDP for having involved me in this, and other MOVA officials are there. It's really an amazing idea that Transport for All sounds good, really fantastic idea. And the way they've been going around doing this is really appreciable, definitely. So much of data collected, collated, and then problems identified, and then putting across first to arrive at solutions was an amazing idea. And this part where it is now turned out to a challenge for the startups, fantastic. What's been happening in STUs all along is that we've been looking for traditional kind of solutions, traditional problems, traditional solutions. Like creativity is lacking. Even the companies, which are big companies coming and they try to provide the basic needs of IT of STUs right now. The real creative part of it is always in the startups. So the startups are there now, they're looking into solutions into cities problems. Any city solution related to public transport is always going to be escalated to every other organization. So once a solution given to a certain problem related to public transport, especially public bus transport in India, can be easily replicated in all across in all the other STUs also. That's one very welcoming feature of technology, obviously. So yeah, it's true that some problems have been identified, and I think they've been communicated to you in some buckets of 6 or 7 problem statements have been communicated to you all. These buckets actually have formed quite a big chunk of problems. I mean, the time which I see the thing is that we have about 60 to 90 days to work on a solution, present it, and make it into a pilot state. That's like, looking at the bigger problems in a very short time. So I would definitely request all the startups to look at it as a bits and pieces thing. Make smaller ones, which actually look at these solutions from passenger viewpoint. Will a passenger be able to use this technology to be benefited on public transport system existing in that particular city? To second, see that this solution has some kind of revenue increasing mode to the public transport also. Let it be a city transporter, who normally SPVs are the ones who are actually providing city transportations, most of the cities. Whatever these 48 cities we are working on, they have some kind of public transport happening. And the bigger cities are already there, like we have Mumbai, Delhi, Hyderabad, Bangalore, Chennai, all the cities are already there. And any solution created in any of the small cities also will definitely be useful for the bigger cities also. So what I would request is look from 2 viewpoints. One is from passenger viewpoint, can he be benefited from this solution, be an app or whatever it is, can he be benefited? Another point is, can the STU also, can the transit also can improve themselves, either be in quality of services or more welcome if it is like increase in revenues also for them. So these 2 things you should keep in mind, make things simpler, because the solutions have to be scalable, one thing, then they have to be stable, and they have to work on all kind of platforms. So these few things I would request you all to look into it. I've gone to, if anybody knows about T-Hub in Telangana, we had actually opened this kind of challenge to them once in about a few months back. Some companies have come in, and of course, they didn't go far beyond that, but they did come up with some good solutions. Like for an example, somebody said that in city, you have stage information system provided in the buses. If somebody can link up the stage information system to the advertisements of that particular place, with that particular stage, and then make it a little more revenue oriented, as well as informatory, giving information to the public also in the bus. So that kind of apps which can be created, which can be both good to the passengers, also good to the companies, public transport companies. So I request you all to look into smaller pieces of these bigger challenges of these 7-8 solutions. 7-8 problem statements. Come up with something which can be useful to everybody. Once that is done, we'll be more than happy to support all of you. Your pilots also will ensure that your pilot runs well. If the system is good and the app is good, we'll ensure that the entire country takes up your project. That way it can be commercially viable to you. We'll be more than happy to assist in that matter, and we'll be more than happy to assist the STUs who get some new creative ideas coming into public transport industry. You can be it like there are certain things like data analytics. There's a problem statement of data analytics. There are the bigger what do you call the problem sounds very big. So look for a smaller solutions within the passengers, or maybe origin and destination service can easily be handled by transit agencies. That kind of, I'm just giving suggestions. I'm not so techie like you all, but suggestions where we would be very interested in to make it more viable for all of us. So I would request you all to be, creative in this aspect. Let's go and do it, and let's come up with some solutions. Everyone, and our part as ASRTU will definitely be supporting every idea which has value in it. We will not let it go just like that. We'll definitely take it up and see that it can be replicated in every STU in the country. And that should be enough to say a few words. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir, for that introduction and that offer to take forward all the promising solutions across the country. So I guess now it is over to the startups to prove that they are actually cost viable, financially viable, and passenger friendly. They're able to come up with solutions that are enabling better ridership and better transit for the city. Okay, so now before I go to the next speaker, just a few housekeeping announcements. I see that there are over 110 participants right now. Request you all to please write a line of introduction in the chat window so that everybody gets to know who you are. That's one. And then there is also a question and answers space where you can type in your questions and also mention, if at all it is to a specific speaker, then please mention the name of the speaker as whom the question is directed to, and we'll take that up at an appropriate time. The ED himself will probably be with us for until 7 p.m. I guess he has another meeting to attend, I guess. We'll take up his questions before we finish everything else. Okay. Now over to Aditya from ITDP to share some pointers on the stage 2 itself and how the timelines of the challenge and so on. Over to you, Aditya.
Good evening, everyone. Hopefully my screen is visible and I'm audible to everyone. So I'll briefly introduce you the entire stage 2 process of Transport4All challenge. So Transport4All challenge is mainly divided into these 3 stages. We are already done with the problem identification in the stage 1, and now it is the stage 2, which is solution generator, where startups are actually going to play a very essential role. Startups are going to develop prototypes of solution to improve public transport with the inputs from cities and NGOs. Moving ahead at the stage 3, we're going to implement this solution on pilot basis, where startups and cities are actually going to engage and implement this solution, and they're also going to refine this solution based on the citizen feedback. So these are the 46 champion cities qualified in the stage 1 of Transport4All challenge, and we have a very good representation of various cities across India. Now, let me just briefly explain you what are the problems for which this challenge is looking for a solution from the startups. So there are mainly these 8 problems. Problem number 1 is tool for rationalizing of transit routes and frequencies. Problem number 2 is spatial tool for digitizing transit networks, timetables, and fares. Number 3 is tool for scheduling of public transport buses and staff. Number 4 is transit performance monitoring tool. Number 5 is reliable passenger information system, which is also known as PIS, and multimodal integrated journey planning and ticketing. Number 6 is passenger grievance redressal system. Number 7, monitoring of transit fleet health and managing maintenance schedule. And number 8 is IPT, that is informal public transport aggregator and monitoring solution. IPT essentially includes auto rickshaws, shared rickshaws, vans, and minibuses. If you want more information related to this problem statement, you can surely scan this QR code, which is displayed on the left-hand side of the screen, and it will direct you to this link where you will find the details about all the problem statements. Next is, this is the link where startups can actually register themselves to participate in this challenge. You can surely scan this QR code right now to visit this page. Now, let me just highlight some of the important dates of this challenge. So by 30th of December 2022, startups need to register themselves to participate in this challenge. Details already given. By 30th of January, a panel expert by challenge team will screen the pitches before they will move startups to the next stage of prototyping. Also, very important, startups can also obtain their DPIIT registration by 15th of January. By 31st of March 2023, the evaluation process will happen where a jury panel is going to evaluate the various solutions given by the startups. Meanwhile, we're also going to have offline workshops with the cities and startups, which will happen before 20th of February. And by 15th of April 2023, there are going to be winning announcement of winners for 16 for startups and solution. So mainly there are 8 problems. So each problem can have maximum 2 solutions. So there can be 16 winning solutions or startups. Let me also explain on what is the criteria for this evaluation process. So this challenge is looking for what is the value proposition of this solution, product characteristics, what is the product cost, the team size, feasibility of this solution, and novelty of the solution. Winning startup will receive an award up to 20 lakhs per solution from Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, and will be eligible to pilot their solution in interested cities in the stage 2. Let me also explain how the reward is going to get distributed or to the startup. So startup will get 40% of the reward after the winner announcement, another 40% after finalizing the solution with the testing cities, 10% after submitting the project result, and remaining 10% after announcement of stage 3 winner. Meanwhile, city governments are also going to work on this in the stage 2. So city governments are actually going to adopt the smart procurement guidelines issued by Smart City Mission. Cities are going to share required data with the startup to ensure the right solution is developed. And cities are going to work together with the startup to develop the solution and to successfully implement the pilot project. Just to summarize this entire process, those stage 2 is essentially to take startups on board to develop the solution and to evaluate the solution given by the startups. This process is going to end by April 2023, and after that, in stage 3, we are going to implement the pilot. So the pilot is going to happen for the 2 months, May and June, and by June 2023, we will have results of the pilot, and that's how the stage 3 will get end. So this is the website where you can find all the details for Transport4All challenge since its inception, various presentation, videos, webinars happened before, and this presentation as well. The website is www.transport4all.in. Thank you.
Thank you, Aditya, for that very quick briefing on the challenge and the timelines and the problem statements itself. The details of the problem statements, as Aditya mentioned, are on the challenge page. where you can go through all the functional requirements that are expected or possible. So quite obviously, as Mr. Suryakiran has mentioned, we have tried to give a flavor of the different functionalities that are expected, or that gives an idea of the overall dimensions of the problem that are faced by the transit agencies. So the solutions itself, again, need not necessarily address the entirety of the problem statements. While, I mean, it will be good to have some solutions which are actually addressing the whole of it, but do not get discouraged if you think that you do not have everything, but we would like everybody to come in, even if you are able to solve part of the problem there. Okay, so with this, let's jump to the next speaker. We have with us Somdatta Chakrabarti. She is the nodal officer for Newtown, Kolkata Smart City. She is going to speak on behalf of Ms. Meghana Paul, who is the CEO of Newtown, Kolkata Smart City. Unfortunately, she is not with us because of suddenly being unwell. So, welcome, Somdatta. Are you ready?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Prashant. So I will right away start with the presentation on behalf of Ms. Meghna Pal, who's unable to join us today. I'll take you all through the problem statement we identified during stage 1 of the Transport4All challenge. Before I move to the problem statement, I will first introduce Newtown, which is a very newly planned city located in the fringes of Kolkata city. Kolkata, as we all know, but Newtown, Kolkata is a satellite town. Development in this city began around 13 years back, and it's a completely planned city. The city focuses on sustainability. We've been awarded by the ministry as a city with a lot of focus on green mobility, with NMT infrastructure in place. And other than this, we also focus our attention on a lot of projects dealing with sustainability, but I'll stick to the transport sector and what we've done here. For the Transport4All challenge, Aditya, if you could take me to the next slide. For the first thing that we did for the Transport4All challenge was to constitute a task force. And according to the recommendation of the task force, we have done a citizen survey to identify the problem statement, and what was prescribed was around 3,000 citizen survey, but we've taken it to 6,000 citizens to identify through online and offline mode what was the problem with regard to public transport that citizens in Newtown were facing. Other than this, we have taken a survey of around 500 plus bus staff, driver and conductor survey. And also we did an IPT survey, which the sample size of which was more than 500 plus. So from this, we could identify what are the bottlenecks and the problems that the city faces in terms of public transport. This is, again, as I mentioned, this is a new city, a city which is like 13, 14 years old. The city is divided into 3 action areas, Action Area 1, Action Area 2, and Action Area 3. The population right now is concentrated in Action Area 1 and Action Area 2, and some sporadic development in Action Area 3. So with all this, we identified the 5 problems which are plaguing the public transport in the city of Newtown, Kolkata. Next slide. I'll skip this because the solution areas have already been covered by Aditya in the previous presentation. The next slide. So from all the surveys that we have done, we identify basically 5 problem areas with regard to public transport in Newtown. First is there is a dependence on private transport. 2-wheelers and cars are the predominant mode through which people traverse the city. There are a lot of public vehicles in terms of public buses, which are run by West Bengal Transport Corporation, but there is a high dependence of private transport in the city. Sorry, there is a problem of last mile connectivity. We have introduced e-bikes and the PBS system in Newtown, but still there is a problem of last mile connectivity in the city. Then the third thing, there are unregulated IPT. There are no uniform fare structures for these autos, the totos that ply in Newtown, and totos are basically e-rickshaws that ply here, and this is a local term that is used. And there are no fare regulation. The speed is unregulated, and there are accidents frequent because the entire IPT system is unregulated in Newtown. The fourth problem is there is a low penetration of contactless payment among the IPT drivers, and people are not willing to accept contactless payment as a mode of payment in the city. The fifth problem is there is a problem of connectivity and inadequate frequency of services of public transport in Action Area 2 and Action Area 3 of Newtown. Because these are newly developing areas, there's a dearth of public transport in these areas. So these were the 5 statements that we identified through surveys when we had undertaken the citizen survey, the IPT survey, and when we had interviewed the bus conductors and the bus helpers. Now, when we submitted this, we have also like 46 other cities along with us. We are one of the stage 1 winners of the Transport for All challenge, also submitted their problem. And next slide. So what we understand that the next stage involved that, putting the problems that we submitted into the bigger baskets that were provided for us during the challenge. So all our problems could be actually put under the 3 buckets that we have identified. The first is the tool for rationalizing of transit routes and frequencies. The second is passenger information system with integrated multimodal journey planning and ticketing. And the third is the IPT aggregator and monitoring. Here, I would also want to mention that Newtown has already implemented a PIS system, which also has a public addressal system integrated with it. And all our public transport, in the sense the buses that ply, can be actually monitored through the PIS system that are installed in 29 bus stands in the city. But we now invite the startups to come and help us to find to help us to rationalize and develop the transit route and frequency, and if they could come and help us with the IPT aggregator and monitoring solutions. So that is it. And if any startup has any query, they can address the queries to nkgsccl@gmail.com. And we will pass in the information to the Chief Executive Officer, who will also address the problems henceforth. That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Somdata, for coming and speaking to us about the challenges that you're facing in your city, as well as the ideas that you're looking for the startups to solve. Apologies to all the participants here that I have my screen on because I had a sudden challenge with my internet. I'm connecting with mobile data now, so there might be some challenges hearing. I hope you are able to hear me well. So while I try fix that, the idea again, the whole point of having this webinar was also to kind of have all of you know that there are the cities coming forward. Many of the times you see that cities are not open about mentioning their challenges and all those things. But this time you see a very different approach in this challenge, where the cities are coming forward, collating all their challenges together. They have talked to their users, they have talked to their drivers and conductors, their staff, and even their competitors in some sense. The transit agencies have gone beyond their own services into talk to the other mobility providers in the city, and come up with understanding of a complete problem statements and working on this. So now I want to switch focus from the cities and their problem statements to the idea of this workshop today, where we wanted to bring together some other startups who are going to speak about the challenges that they have worked on, trying to make lives of people better. These are great success stories, in fact, but they would not have come about without a lot of hard work among the founding members and the technical team there. So let me, we have with us two startups like that today. One is Nayan Tech, and then the other is Maruth Drones. I'm guessing that some of you might already know these people who are quite, these are quite large startups and a good footprint in the country. But again, the idea is for them to speak about the challenges that they faced and how they managed to start working with the cities. It's common for us to understand that working with the government is not straightforward because of their own checks and balances in place. So we'll get to hear some of those and about their own products and solutions. So I would like to now welcome Dr. Jayant Rathi. He is a PhD from Georgia Tech, PhD and Masters from Georgia Tech, and has more than 100 patents to his credit. Dr. Jayant has founded Nayan Tech. This is a technology company which is using AI-based vision processing to kind of look at all the visual data from all the traffic cameras and various sources of data in the city to provide real-time analysis and support. So without me trying to tell too much about them, I would like to invite Dr. Jayant to come in and then speak about the startup as well as their experience working with the cities in India and abroad, and their advice, anything that you could give as a piece of advice to the startups who are trying to come and apply for the mobility challenge right now. Over to you, Jayant.
Thank you, Prashant sir. And I appreciate the forum to give everyone some guidance. Being from the 2021 National Startup Awards finalist time, we did not have a lot of other startups in front of us to guide us in a lot of ways. So we had to learn the ropes on our own. So I'm happy that we are discussing to help others also gain traction. Briefly about the company and how we've evolved. Nayan was founded in 2018 November, but the experiment and the focus of solving for India began in 2016 December when I was still in the US. And becoming an Uber driver back in the days, I was meaning to learn the roadway networks very aggressively. So I lived on the road for about 3 months as a way to learn the roads. Sitting in an office is not the best, I thought, to understand what people are facing 24/7. And since most of the e-commerce logistics, 60% of our GDP is focused on movement of goods. So we have a lot of people working very hard all day, all night to keep the roads moving. So how do we learn it? Just get on the road and live there to understand what's going on was my inspiration. So I became an Uber driver for 3 months, and it was the toughest time of my life. To not earn a single rupee for many days, and I was earning in dollars to pay my rent, pay my car. So I'm inspired, and this picture is a story of how people are using the roadways to feed their family, and they drive around different locations. So our first concern came up: how can we solve for the people who are desperately trying to make a living, and driving all day on roads, coming to cities to earn because their villages will not provide enough. So the application was designed on Nayan to come up with a smart way for all drivers, auto walas, poor people, e-rickshaw walas, kabadi walas, to make a little extra money. And that little extra for us means 100 to 5,000-6,000 rupees a month. But for that little extra money, these people have nearly a 50% higher amount that they're getting every month. It really puts them at comfort, and it gives the city and the departments a good name in helping a lot of these citizens make a living. So the inspiration of Nayan was to embed intelligence on smartphones. And instead of using high compute intelligence on CCTV networks, we started pushing a lot of intelligence on edge-based compute. So we are now solving for different cities various problems that are being inflicted in the city for detecting potholes, infra damage, red lights, traffic lights, illegal parking alongside driving, no helmets, smoke exhausts, fire, smoke coming from anywhere, and a number of use cases added on top. We have now 100 plus use cases solving for different things for different municipalities, different traffic police. And these are some of the use cases examples. We've also deployed the same technology in Dubai and now experimenting in Tokyo and Vienna, some other places where cost can be reduced for these companies and businesses and governments to adopt sooner. So use cases are many, and we detect on the go. It's a smartphone, any of your smartphones, you can download our app and put it on your dashboard. Give it to your poor drivers or kabadiwalas or your vehicle cleaners, e-rickshaw walas, anyone who you know is a poor person on the road. Please give our application. It's called Nayan when you go on Play Store. They'll be able to make a few bucks every day extra. It'll make a dent in their lives, and we in return will be able to get our country fed, and their help goes back to the cities. So how the AI works and the compute works, I'll show you. This is running on a heavy-duty smartphone, but usually for different smartphones lower in compute, the AI models are dumbed down and reduced in efficacy. So you'll give a taste of how this works. A normal road in Delhi or any city, Kanpur, and you see all the mess. And then AI takes over. So you start getting actionable intelligence for construction, vehicles, violations, road signs, illegal parking, damages, infra damage, road damage, helmet violations, vehicular violations. All of these, in general, in a country like ours, it's impossible to detect without using a cheap form of digital monitoring. And you will see all the number plates and faces are hidden to comply with European and Indian and Asian personally identifiable information laws, privacy laws. So this has evolved. It did not happen overnight. It took 3, 4 years, 5 years of development over time, step by step. A lot of perseverance and working with the customers to understand their pain points. Slowly and steadily, all of this development came up. From 2016, we've been filing a lot of patents. As we evolve a new tech and we demo something and the customer adopts it, we know it worked. So then we go ahead and file a patent on it. And we have now evolved into 70 plus global technology patents over time, step by step. And now this has, in India, we have around 6, US. And we have slowly started coming up in cities. So I am very happy that I am finally, after so many years of perseverance and working, we have been given chances to work with cities like Ahmedabad, Vadodara, Bhopal, Pune, and NHAI, Gatkeji. And so many distinguished gentlemen, they're finally giving opportunity to startups now to help the city and the country and stop using foreign technology. So these are our coverage. The red areas are where we are, and we're hoping to increase it more. And the yellow portions are where we want to be next. And so the pinnacle of our help and our focus was to cut down the capex being expended by governments. So most of the governments, all they know is CCTV because that's what the West uses, without thinking twice whether or not it will be applicable for us. Now, it is a good way to think about it. We do need cannons to win a war, but no cannons have ever won a war. It's the soldiers that win the war, is our philosophy. The soldiers are the operators, the drivers, the cars, the buses, the people on the roads. They win the eventual battle. These are some of the cities we have gotten small tractions, and you can see the commercials are very tiny. But overall, one by one, it adds up. And as we were smaller, these numbers mattered a lot. Now that we are a little bit bigger, even though the numbers are smaller, we still take the privilege that we are able to help the city solve some of the issues. So it's a slow and steady battle. Now we've also evolved from governments to other businesses. So we've been able to sell the data to businesses for events of interest for them, delivery companies, infra companies, with our focus being on allowing the data to go to mapping companies, and slow and steady, use case by use case, we've added people. A quick result, this is Ahmedabad, so we are detecting a few issues of interest for the city, like potholes, barriers, dustbins, broken traffic lights. We're doing it at a cost that is extremely low. It is lower than what they thought was possible, and we are doing it at profit, so it is a good model, very scalable. We did the same with NHAI to allow for highways to be monitored for issues, non-compliances for us as we drive through highways and roads. So these are different use cases we find, from illegal violations to traffic lights and traffic cameras. We've done the same in Dubai Police. We've expanded and delivered solutions to detect seatbelt violations, mobile phone violations, broken headlights, tail lights, damage to vehicles, lane changes. We've done with Dubai Police for now 3 years plus. Move through forward. Police has made a lot of money using our tech also. Dubai Police made around 50 crore rupees last year. This year is still in counting, but it will be larger. And we work with other companies slowly to deliver safety compliance applications. Now, over time, the smartphones also started including CCTV cameras. So we are now absorbing CCTV feeds to do for some businesses which don't have allowance to use a smartphone within their facility. So there we use the same engines, but in different feed. We've done the same with road transport agencies, so parking lots. We have now deployed 2 smart parking lots to allow for different vehicles doing different violations to be detected, used. Going forward, I'll skip past this, but from usage on fleets, so government businesses usually, because of the sporadic nature, we tied in some of the use cases to businesses also. So that's how we were able to manage when the cash flow was low, then business use cases helped us keep the cash flow up. So both of them combined is a good idea in many cases. The best part about Nayan, mostly are poor people working for Nayan. So we are now supplying 1,200 women, a lot of earning enough more than their husbands who are driving autos and fixing garbage and other things. So it's one of our social enterprise ends that allows youth, people who are underprivileged, old, handicapped, to be able to add into the network and help the country in some way. So a lot of this adds up. This is a number of awards we've won over the years through government partnerships and a lot of support from the government. And lastly, it's a slow and steady race. A lot of investors were added one by one. It again happened over time, was not immediately achieved. But each milestone we achieved, it interested some new people. Each time it interested some more people. We got more challenges in front of us. Solving those challenges, we got more people interested, and so on and so forth. So it's a gradual layer, one by one. But it's a patient road. I know governments are slower, but the advantage with them is like the way the mindset is changing now. It's very, very conducive to help support the city in ways that will fix a lot of problems for the country. using tech that's homegrown, because the cost is an impediment for a lot of acquisition. So we just kept our head straight, and sometimes even if we did not achieve something, we just kept working, persistence, and keep our head down. And so most of the investors we have on board, they're all people with their head down, and they kept working tirelessly. So they appreciate that level of philosophy. Great. I think that's my presentation, and yes, happy to answer any questions.
That is absolutely impressive, Jayant. I think looking at a problem and there is a vicious cycle in the victorious cycle. So that moving from that side, with all the patience and with all the perseverance that you had, also going to be an Uber driver to really find to fine tune your idea and the solution. This is fantastic. So I think, hands and legs on the ground is extremely important to solving a critical problem in our daily lives. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Now, given the little time we have, we'll come back to you with questions, obviously. But let me switch to our next fantastic speaker again. Prem Kumar Vislavat, the founder of Marud Drones. Now, I have known Prem for well over 7-8 years, even before he's becoming the famous, getting listed in the top 30 under 30 on the Forbes list in 2020. And Prem has, we have known each other right from 2014 or 15 when he used to still run a filmmaking company. Now, now you can see how much versatile an engineer that Prem is, that he moved on to set up Marud Drones. Prem, you with us?
Yes, Prashant, yes.
Fantastic. So he is an IIT alumnus, I think from Guwahati. Is that right, Prem? Yeah. So he is based in Hyderabad, does a lot of fantastic things. And then Marud Drones itself is a great innovation. He helps a lot of farmers and even helps the city in dealing with the mosquito menace, dealing with the malaria and dengue problems. So even before I go and try and do his introduction, so I think I let Prem talk about Marud Drones. And Prem, I would also like you to focus on the challenges that you face trying to work with the cities. And just because an idea is fantastic, that doesn't mean that cities are going to come running, taking your product, right? So that will be very inspiring for the other startups also who are trying to take that route. So over to you, Prem.
Thank you, Prashant, and thank you all the members and all the organizers. Like every engineer, I've also got into the engineering and had did my bachelor's from IIT Guwahati and did my electronics and communications and joined the job and got bored, and so I thought something totally different, wanted to do we started the film production house and produced a couple of films. In the course of time, I stay away from the parents, and every quarterly or 6 months once when I visit, the first thing, the request comes from the parents so that you don't deny it, so you obey it and you do it. That is like going and complaining something. Next to our parents' house was this water body and lake, and we have a mosquito menace, which was troubling a lot. And then from 2013 onwards to 2017, I've been complaining. And finally in 2017, and the municipal commissioner of that and the people called me and said, "Boss, you're educated and looks like you've been writing, so you are aware that your problem is not solved. Please don't give us the letters, and just better is shift your parents from the place there." That's where the solution they brought. Then I was started observing what is the problem and why this problem has been amplifying, but it's not solving. And that's where I saw people get into the water to the neck level. They clean up the lake with water hyacinth or the water they dump we do every day, and then they apply oily kind of a layer so that the mosquitoes don't breed. Then before that, we've been using these drones because of film. We were mounting big cameras and we were using drones. We thought, why can't we do this? That's where the initiating the process. So it cut short in 3 years. We could able to bring 20,000 dengue cases to less than 500. Malaria cases from 18,000. We brought it to less than 400 in Hyderabad. We had a very like challenging at every stage. Building product and technology was easy among everything, is because when we first built the hardware, because I'm running film production house, then I thought this problem is big. So I called my two batchmates and called, said, see, there's a problem like this. One was in Qualcomm, one was in Samsung. I said, can you guys take a break and can we solve this? Is what the ask I had. I said, like, take a break. You've been working for very long, right? So they said 3 months, and it's been more than 3 years. They're staying straight back and building this entire Marut and the product what we built is. So I'll just take you through a little bit uh, what we've been doing it from last 3 years, just to give you a little more understanding. This was to quickly just give you the overview, the different works what we did. So basically, the problem what we've taken was the problem which has been not solved more than 70 years before independence, and before I think when human race have started, this problem has been started because we create more problems to ourselves, and is what we understood. And the second thing is, it's a behavioral problem. What we see is we ourselves don't keep our surroundings neat, and we don't keep our own vicinities neat. That leads to a problem, that leads to the bigger problems of dengue, malaria, is what we see. And when we started taking this as a problem statement, everybody used to laugh. Now also when we talk like we are doing something, eradication, prediction of malaria, dengue, people laugh at. You really need a technology to it. Do you think there is a enough kind of a thing to do there? But traditionally we have seen is more than 70, 75 years we have passed, but till today also for a dengue or malaria, we do health camps. Saying that in not only here, world over, they do like the prevention methods after we get the malaria, dengue. But across the world, the majority of people have passed away in the world, and in India is also not because of dengue, or not because of the malaria, or the COVID presently. It's because of the mosquito-prone diseases. For example, we popularly know about malaria, dengue, chikungunya. If you go to little Kerala, you know Zika virus. If you go to little Assam, you know Japanese encephalia. There are many mosquito-borne diseases which we're gonna hear in our lifetime in the next 5 to 10 years also. And the majority of deaths in happening also is not because of accidents, rapes, or everything. It's because of the diseases like malaria, dengue in the world. This is to give you a quick shot where the majority of the communities which are staying in slums, staying in the more of the places where the more than they earn, they spend in the medical expenses for this dengue and malaria. Just to give you one story of a girl where his father income is less than more of a 5,500, but they spend more than 3,500 for the medical expenses. And this is just on a government hospital. If you go to the private hospital, it becomes 10 times or 5 times is what the expenditure. And as you know, the challenge, once you see in any of the paper in the month of August, September, every newspaper, it can be Bangalore, Delhi, Hyderabad, Mumbai, there's a dengue, so many people have died, there's a malaria, so many people have died, there's a flooded news to everybody in the in your family, in your network, talks about dengue, malaria, and there is no infrastructure which has been there, and there is absolutely clueless what to do for this entire problem, what are we going to do it. And majority of the places, the diseases are prevalent more. And there's a few more diseases which are going to come in break in India. And this was to give you a glance of what is in India, world over, the burden and everything. Actual problem is the mosquito comes from the water, stagnated water next to your house, next to your office, or a road where you're passing around, or the water body. And 99% water bodies are in this stage where people get in water, they clear it up, then apply, they apply the oily kind of layer at a larvae stage to solve. So we see people in evening doing fogging. That is for the adult mosquito, black mosquito, which you see. But what we were tackling was, why can't we solve at a larvae stage itself where it's in water? Again, the problem is a 20-acre lake takes 20 to 35 people for working for 4 to 5 weeks. One end, they remove the water hyacinth, the other end starts it. Absolutely manual, there is no technology. It's very difficult for them to do it. And people, workforce also have learned a method where at 20 acres lake, they write 3,000 liters have been used. And 40 people have worked for 2 months, 3 months, and yearly once they do this activity. So because it's very challenging, cost and time taking. And this is what your system, what you see every day in the evening for mosquito, the practice and everything. And in the right, you see this is a method where they do assessment. They take a cup of the larvae, they count as a volume, and they tell what is the density in that locality. That manual and that kind of a situation where we are at present. Then that's where we started using drones, where 20 people, 30 people work for 4 to 5 weeks. We do it in one day. We fly a drone, identify where is a menace, and we use exactly locality where there has been menace of a larvae stage of a mosquito. With that, where they were traditionally using 3,000 liters, 4,000 liters, and removing the aquatic life in that water bodies, we are using like 1/10 or 1/15 of the larvicides. So we brought 200 liters or 150 liters from 3,000 liters, and they were doing yearly once. Now every week this drone is being used. If you are in Hyderabad locality, around 150 lakes and Musi is under. We used these drones from last 3 years. You see Durgam Cheru, you see where what you don't see this green leafy water hyacinth anymore. So these are the few stats with the usage of these drones, where we could able to fasten it, we could reduce the operational cost, and we were now almost the 150 plus lakes have been managed. The second challenge was, okay, we are doing eradication, but in popularly everybody says dengue, everybody says malaria, but how do we bring, because what happened is when we started first in 2018 starting days, we use a drone, next thing says 50% reduced, sir, 90% reduced, sir. We ourselves was not convinced, we ourselves was questioning, saying that, are we doing any miracle? Today there's some menace, and next day is saying 70%, 40%. And popularly says that there's a dengue, sir. But we don't know, we don't have any analytical kind of a thought process. And no worker or no officials wants to say report something negative to the commissioners and other people. And the people are in the seat of a commissioner or chief principal secretary or any decision making, they don't know real time, or they don't know actual reality. Then that's where we started taking help of the institute called IICT, Indian Institute of Chemical Technology, which is in Hyderabad. This was the first lab after takeover of Hyderabad from Nizam, the CSR lab, and they were working on mosquito. There are 5,000 plus scientists working on mosquito, have not killed a single mosquito in their lifetime, is what they said. That's when we were asking them a lot of questions. Then they gave a lot of data points. Then we thought and built an IoT device which traps the mosquito and gives the first density in that locality, tells about there is a male or female. With them, if there is more female mosquitoes, you know the breeding is more. That's where you do the eradication after a certain percentage of density. And with this, we could able to identify the species. That's where we could able to tell in the locality, which is a prominent disease in that locality, dengue, chikungunya, and we could able to give them a real-time kind of data to the public health people and the municipality people. That's where they could able to do a better kind of the awareness. And this has the two-stage like ML based and the wind beat frequencies. So we had a more data point kind of a thing, and we could able to create a command center in the municipal corporation where the data from the IoT drone, everything was there, and they could have a better kind of a thing. Entire COVID time, they could able to handle well. So both the IoT drone and then the existing systems like fumigations and everything, we had a liquid level sensors and brought entire the data to that command center, and we could able to alert the people and eliminate the better way. In a nutshell, we could able to get 300 hours man hours it was taking. We brought it to 1 hour, 1.5 hour, where average they could able to cover, and they were spending like 10 lakh, 15 lakhs a lakh. We brought it to less than 25,000. And this to give you the part and everything. This in the last 3 years we could able to cover this 78,000 the acres in just in Hyderabad, and we could able to impact more than 10 million people. And we see there's an opportunity where in India, where to eliminate these diseases, make India free from malaria, dengue, and diseases at last.
Wonderful, wonderful frame for what. Wonderful, Prem, for what you're telling. And as I told all of you, Prem is an enterprising engineer, and you can see the entire problem-solving approach and the very technical approach in his conversation. So he's extremely, extremely passionate guy, and I have been very inspired to, work along with him on various fronts of community engagement and in Hyderabad. So very happy to have you, Prem. Now, given that we are towards our earlier thought timeline, let me quickly jump. Before I jump to the questions from the public, Prem, I have one question to you. How did you, I wanted to put on your entrepreneurial or marketing hat and then tell me, how did you break the logjam with the government? How did you enter? Because this is not something that they knew already how to solve. So a government can procure something that they know. How did you come in and then enter into a market which didn't exist? Very briefly, if you could.
Yeah, first, they were very skeptical mindset. Basically, where thousands of crores have been spent to eradicate the drastical, because there are a lot of people are at mid-level, they're getting benefited because of the chemicals, because of the people, manpower and everything, the political system and everything. So first they asked us to do it in one locality. They saw some difference. They asked us to do some other locality. They saw difference. Then people have started writing letters to the municipality saying that whatever you did in so-and-so Miyapur area, whatever you do it in so-and-so, we have seen there is a reduction, something our cousin was saying it and everything. There more than 300 letters have come to the municipality. Then what happened is the commissioner and all people got into pressure. They want to use, but the workforce was saying that there are 3,000 people working in getting the water bodies and everything. So the government want to adopt, but the challenge they had was, see, if we tell them if you're adopting it, that directly goes that we are replacing people, we are removing people. There will be all the agitations. Already they think technology is automating it, they'll remove people and blah, blah, and everything. They said, we'll give a chance for you to address them, make them understand, because if we tell them, we have inner agendas to slowly remove them, because already the governments have a problem, they're making them permanent to temporary, and a lot of challenges they go through it, right? So they have more than 3,000 people have come at one place. Now we are addressing it, and by then we had more than 7 months we've been working with them. We know a lot of people going to contagious diseases. We started showing them where they earn 10,000 to 12,000 rupees, but their expenses more than lakh, which doesn't cover any of the healthcare insurances what they do at present. So they got we convinced the people with us saying that we are not replacing them. We are trying to bring the technology, helping them and making them to not to get into the water body and thing. They with 6 months as an experimental, they've agreed. We have made sure that 3,000 people who are getting water work in the residential areas. So all these areas like Charminar, Secunderabad, they go to his household, they clean up and they do it, the mosquito menace, and drones use it. We see after 2.5, 3 years now, all these people have been appreciated. Earlier, when they asked water or some money or some key, people used to feel something like they used to show some like non-comfortable. Now they say that like people should see us, we are solving some problem which is most important, and the technology is really helping them to address is what they see. We saw first the adoption from the government, but we created the importance of the technology to the people who were working. That's where government started adopting it, and once they started getting this real-time data and they are able to quantify data-driven kind of the decisions, and they stick to it, and that's where we created the demand, we created that necessity, and being very affordable for them, they're able to cater it is what we see. And this space is not simple space. There are 10,000 pest control guys in the city. They are like big mafias of like how you have the waste management mafias. They're big mafias. What we realize after getting it, we get suddenly call from some MLA saying that I used to get 10 lakh rupees, 15 lakh rupees per month from so and so vicinity. You guys have brought something, and we ultimately are not getting those things. Is big get here. So there's a lot of, we jumped it saying that we'll solve the problem and get out and do our work, to the stage where jumped in to solve this problem. And day one onwards, we kept one saying that if I'm solving something in Hyderabad, it has to be a technology driven, so that I could solve a problem in Assam and Bangladesh, any part of the world, so that it is scalable. That's where we're trying to have this IoT drone analytical platform and technology driven. And now for other cities, we're trying to work with existing the machinery and the pest control guys whom we're trying to give a technology transfer or train them so that they could adopt it, is where we're trying to do. So we took this 3 years to create that sample data and validate it, so to scale to the more municipalities and to more cities going forward.
Thank you, Prem, for that wonderful experience sharing there. And I'm sure that the startups who are there here listening and all the participants, to some extent, have gone through some of this turmoil. Solving the technical problem is one thing, but then the implications of going live and implications of getting the first foot into the door, and then also dealing with the challenge of showing the performance. Most often then you don't have measuring instruments or measuring methodologies to kind of say that, okay, there was a base, this was the base and this was the improvement. So all these challenges exist, and I'm sure that the same things will exist in the Transport for All challenge as well. Only thing here is that this time the city governments are coming together, coming forward and saying that, hey, we have these challenges and we are looking for out-of-the-box solutions for these problems. So I think, and also because of the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development and all the other partners who are here, ASRTU and others, I think we will all act as facilitators so that you do not encounter the very same challenges like Marut drones and what Jayant was speaking about, and then hopefully get to the implementation stage and scale up stage much easily. That said, let me jump into questions. I see before me two questions right now, 2 or 3 questions. Let me go with the first one. The first one, I think, Binil, are you there? Binil from Startup India. Are you with us, Binil? So the question is about, somebody asking, we have submitted our response to the challenges on 30th of November, the earlier last date. Will we get a chance to edit and add additional information since the last date has been postponed? Would like to invite Binil from Startup India. Do we have him? I can answer it, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be 100% right. So the way the challenge website works is that once it is submitted, it cannot be edited. However, I would not want any of you who have already submitted, to be any discouraged, because while processing the applications, if we find that there is any additional information that would help us, we would always definitely reach out to you. It is not going to be a direct reject if we see some value in the idea proposed or the solution that is being proposed. So hope that answers the question. Let me go to the next question, which is most likely from myself. This question is about, we are an idea-based, does an idea-based startup qualify? What factors will be taken into account when approving the application? How can we increase our chances of being chosen? Kind of difficult question to answer because, very briefly, let me say that the evaluation is broken down into 5 different categories. One is the relevance of the idea itself, relevance and the value proposition that the solution brings. The second is the product characteristics. Then third one, we are going to look at cost of the product, or cost of deployment of the product. Then the team itself, the team composition will have a weight. Then the feasibility of deployment. Sometimes you might have the greatest of ideas, but the deployment constraints might make it impossible to roll it out at this point in time. So that would have certain weight. And then the novelty of the solution itself would have a small weight also. So this is broadly the evaluation criteria. I hope that helps. Any other questions? I see one more question to both the panelists, both the startups here, which I think in part is being answered, but I will give another chance. Jayant, if you want to come in first, how are you looking for a scaling up? I think Prem has in part answered that question. So Jayant, if you would want to speak about, how
Yes.
do you strategize on scaling up?
Yes. So good question. So far, I only have a standard answer. Usually, the governments have the way of acquisition procurement is either through a portal which has now gaining a lot of popularity. It's GEM. If you're not aware of it, that is one portal where you can apply for products and services. Both you can be part of it. You can apply. The government engine can directly procure your services without having to go through a tender, or they can issue a tender for all the participants to come and give their requirements. Different criterias. L1 means lowest cost, but there is performance and indexing criteria also. The other is more traditional, where your end customers who have done a pilot with you will probably ask you to participate in a tender, where other competitors would also come along. You will likely have an advantage that you've at least known the problem statement in and out, because you are the ones who are demoing it, piloting it, building it. So there's an advantage in coming up with a tender that favors us as the startup in some way. So long as there's a clear distinction between existing products, it should go through. So long as the government bodies, with a pinch of salt, they hold their ground. They might get transferred, then you will have an issue. Like we've had issues. But if they are not transferred and it converts into a tender official, then usually it's a prerogative of the next officer in charge to continue and take that forward also. So sometimes moving fast is an important step. Sometimes it is pure luck. But one thing you can do is try to do more than one bid, have 2-3 bids in place, so at least something goes forward. The net should be slightly bigger, but also weigh the size of the contract accordingly. A lot of big players don't like to enter small spaces. So if your contract size is only 50 lakh rupees for the tender, 25 lakh rupees, most of the big players don't want to enter that tiny region. So you can carve out that little niche for yourself by asking the government body to bid it at a lower cost, which will push back all the big boys. Yeah, so because we are the small fish in the pond, even then is a small fish in the pond. So it's
Adding to
And,
Jayant, it should be a QCBS. Is generally you can recommend, is because it becomes a little technical, more validation then comes to the financial. Because general tender process gives L1, right? There are 100 people just file the tender without knowing anything, and the waste the time of the departments and the people. And we have seen for our the first 2 times we have not got the tender because someone has got L1 has not delivered. So till they've not delivered, they've waited for it, and that costed us them 7 to 8 months. Then they brought QCBS into the picture, and they brought the solution in. Because when you have a good new solution, it's very difficult for you to get multiple bidders and onboard the practices of present the public tender process is what we see. So one thing is also when we are building this solution, we also have to learn the process. How do we bring that customer is through because most of the departments ask you to make the RFPs and everything. So one thing is, I think the enter as a process tender for startups should be a QCBS, not as a L1 traditional practices which they do for the other sectors.
Right, friend. I think most of the cities. What happens? Working with so many government agencies, also I see there is always a challenge, but at the same time, when you have a cost advantage, so when your product is delivering value, and when the value can be measurable, when it is very measurable and it is advantageous, you will see that each of these administrators in these cities are really interested in finding those solutions because they are hard pressed to prove themselves in the cities. Being an administrator in a city is not an easy job. They are managing multiple things at the same time. They are also not experts of the domain, yet they are trying to show performance. So there is pressure from the people, from the political bosses, and everybody. So I think slowly things are changing, and this challenge is also an example of how things are changing in the mobility space. And with the Association of State Road Transport Units being a partner here, then you will also see some level of continuity and some level of experience sharing between the state transport organizations, which should give the startups participating in this challenge an advantage, if they are able to prove their mettle. So with that, let me jump to one last question I see on my screen. Can we submit the solution for intercity buses, which is operated by the STUs? Now, as far as I am able to see, the problem statements are almost universal, whether it is city or the regional buses. Like, for example, route rationalization. The methodology more or less is the same for city versus regional. If you look at passenger information system, the methodology is almost the same. If you look at fleet maintenance, the buses are almost the same, and the methodologies will vary very slightly. The protocols will vary very slightly. So I see that the solution, unless there is some very specific part which is not applicable to the city buses, I definitely see value in what your solution has to offer, even for the intercity buses. So please do come back, apply, and we will definitely ask you more questions if you think that there is a problem in relevance or there is a problem in application to the city buses. Okay, hope that answers the question. I think we are almost to the end of our time limit on the session. Anybody having any last question we can take, or else we can break for the evening. And I look forward to more and more startups coming forward to apply, go through the challenge process, the problem statements, and then apply. We'll probably have one more webinar before sometime next week. Before we have another 3 weeks to close off applications on 30th of December. But I would really request all the startups to apply much before. There is one more question or comment. No, that's just a comment. Okay, then good night, everybody. Thank you for joining, and see you all next time, and see you all participate in the challenge. Good night.
Thank you.